Well, guys, unfortunately, it's time to start, so I'm gonna have to stop the music and stop the share. Good morning, everyone. This is our discussion for A. It's gonna be about technical interviews, so I hope you're all looking forward to that. Today we're joined by another TA. Amai is here with us, and say hi, everyone, to Amai, and Amai say hi back to them.
Hi everyone, how's everyone doing?
See, they're so lovely. They're all saying hi. I love my group.
It's so welcoming,
Yeah.
It's like such a welcoming atmosphere.
Yeah, they're all so nice and warm. I love them. What is it with you guys and picking songs that last 5 minutes? I can play two of those. I need shorter songs for recommendations. Anyway, I'm going to go back to sharing my screen so we can start our discussion properly. Let's see. This one. And then, let's see what you guys can see. Okay. And I don't want this slide. I love technology. Anyway, who would guess that I'm a CS major? Um, I have the setup now and I can see all of you guys and the chat. Okay, so today we're doing mock interviews and mock interview demos. And just a fair warning, the quiz will open a little later. I'm gonna open it at 11:25. You'll still have your 15 minutes to do it. I just wanna give us time to actually demo this for you guys properly and go over everything that you'll need. I'll leave some space for questions, and while Amai is interviewing me, you'll get to enjoy that and hopefully get a little payback because I'm usually the one that quizzes you, and now you'll have to see me be put on the spot. But let's hope that all ends well. Anyway, thank you, Ricardo. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them throughout the entire presentation as always. So yes, this is going to be an example of what you're supposed to do on the programming quiz, Ethan. Anyway, to start off, we're going to talk about some technical interviews. What is it like? First off, do your research on the company. You need to understand their interview process so that you know what to expect, so that they don't throw something at you that you don't like, that you're not at least a little bit familiar with. Um, it it really like it depends on the company that you're applying to and the position that you're applying to, obviously, but they may ask you different things. Like they may ask you about data structures and algorithms or about systems designs, both. Sometimes they might ask you about web development. It really depends on what company you're applying to. So make sure to familiarize yourself with all of that. Uh, Another thing you want to look up is if they have multiple rounds of interviews. So there's obviously going to be some stages that you'll go through, such as, I don't know, maybe the like online assessment, and then a phone screen, a technical interview, a final round with the hiring manager. Um, and you wanna know that. You wanna be ready for what you're doing as always. And you can always look them up online, on different ask different sources, ask people who've gone through interviews with this company, reach out to people on LinkedIn, etc. Be go-getters. The second part of yeah, Reddit if it works. Yeah. The second part of the technical interviews that you really want to, or that I want to emphasize for you guys, is that you should always, always, always ask clarifying questions before moving on and writing any code. Just ask them to go through an example. Suggest edge cases and ask them if that's all right. ask them if the behavior you think is correct for an edge case. You really want to clarify that before going in and writing the code, just so you don't waste time, because you are still limited on time and how much you can do. And then of course at the very end you want to describe your solution. Where the next slide is going to have more details about the problem solving and technical question solving. And then afterwards, if you have enough time, always ask them questions and make sure to prepare a few beforehand. Write them down. I actually prepare questions a lot and then I completely forget them because I don't write them down. So write the questions down, please. Now, off to technical questions flowchart. There's this picture, and it's actually from a book that Aman, I think, gave you in the syllabus. It's somewhere, definitely, and it's cited on this slide too, if you want to look it up. Make sure to listen to the question carefully. Listen to the examples and make up your own examples. Give test cases and ask questions about those test cases. Clarify the bounds, behaviors, etc. First off, you should always think about the like brute force approach. Just solve the question. It doesn't have to be optimized on the first try. So is there anything that can solve this problem correct on the first go? Like just off the top of your head, first thing that first solution that you come up with, go with that one for now. And then once you have a working solution, go to optimization, and you wanna implement this BUD optimization, which is like remove bottlenecks or consider bottlenecks, remove unnecessary work, and remove duplicated work. And then you want to walk your interviewer through the code and yourself, obviously. That's what rubber duckies are for. I'm so sad that you guys cannot get rubber duckies like the people in person. I'm so upset, and I'll figure something out, I promise. And obviously you want to review your code before you, I guess, submit it, or I guess implement it in this case. It's a little, people in person get rubber duckies, Brody. I know. I'll just show the rubber ducky model that they get every time you get a question, right? So like, here, you got a virtual rubber ducky. Yeah. Um, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Brody, you would have a lot of rubber duckies. You're right. Anyway, back to the presentation. So then you implement your code, your algorithm, whatever you developed, and now you have an optimized, speedy solution with like everyone wants rubber duckies, with optimal space complexity, optimal time complexity, and you want to make that code clean now. Clean it up, make it easy to read, make it easy to understand. If anyone opened your code, like us, to grade it, for example, and we just see a bunch of lines, we want to be able to understand what you're going through, what you're doing. And of course, keep talking to your interviewer. You know, don't just be silent. Talk to them, ask them questions, see if you're going in a completely wrong direction. It happened to me once. And then after all of that, you want to test it, and obviously, you know, see if your solution is correct, if it works with the programming language that you're working in. And here's the source. The book is called Cracking the Coding Interview, and this little picture that we have here is from page 62. Now, how to prepare for these? We have the example of LeetCode. The link is on the slides. So that's, Sophia, that's called the online assessment. And those usually are like the quizzes that we have. And I'm not entirely sure how every company works, but sometimes they might even give you a contact to ask questions if you need them for those too. Anyway, LeetCode. This is the link to LeetCode website. Once you get this access to slides, check it out. It's synonymous with technical interviews, so it basically walks you through the process, and it's basically the same thing. It has difficulties that you can pick out for yourself, and there's like a premium option where you can pay to see the company tagged question, and obviously if you Google it, you'll get it for free. If you know how to Google it. The premium version also offers debugging in their ID, in their editor. So I don't know if you're interested in that or not. If I guess if you do it enough, it might become your worst enemy or your best ally, depending on if you like that kind of things. Here are some list of good LeetCode questions by category. So Blind 75 has that, LeetCode 150, and they also have a YouTube channel, and they're all linked. So please, after we're done with this, go look at the slides and check them out. And then with the workflow that we suggest for you guys for LeetCode is try to be consistent. So pick a schedule for yourself and just work on it. It's good to just stay up, like keep up with the questions and not lose the conditioning that you have right now. You're in the mindset to work, but if you don't do it for grind LeetCode, I don't know if that would be healthy, but you do you. And then really try to understand the problem that you're given or trying to solve. Sketch out a solution before you start coding. It's honestly, that's how I went through all of my programming classes. I would not be able to survive data structures if I wasn't literally drawing things out on a whiteboard. And talk out loud while you code. Rubber duckies again. Just imagine one in your head. It's okay. We'll sort things out. And it's not always about getting the solution right. It's about being able to explain what you did and explain the ideas that you have to your interviewer so they know how you work. And only look at the solutions after being stuck for over 20 minutes. Don't immediately go to the solutions because you won't learn anything. And then we have a couple of resume tips for you guys. I'm not going to go over that because you have profcom classes and you can always read this on your own time. I don't need to actually read this for you guys. So now we are going to go into the behavioral mock part of today's discussion. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen, and Amai is going to interview me. Do you guys have any questions before we start? Sorry, Amai. No questions so far? Okay. I think we're good to go, Amai. How should we do this?
Do you want to like get like a brief overview? Like, hey, Sarah, you're gonna be interviewing for like some like software engineering intern position at ABC.xyz company. So my first question for you today is, like, tell me about a time where you like led a team for a project.
Um, so the time I led a team, I'm not usually the one who's gonna volunteer to be a leader, but I am the type of person who will get things done, and I don't like waiting to do things, and I don't like waiting on other people. So essentially any group project that I work on is going to be in some way led by me. So for example, right now I'm taking software engineering or intro to software engineering, and there's 4 of us there. There's no technical leader, but I was the one who formed the group. I'm usually the one who starts off the communication. I'm the one who sets the goals because, it's important to be the person who takes the first step because it gets everyone else going. And honestly, if I'm not going to volunteer for that position, but if it needs to be me and if we need someone to do that, I'm always willing to step up and do it.
Okay, thank you. Um, so tell me about a time or like tell me about like a weakness you have, and then like how did you improve upon that like weakness? Like what steps did you take to improve upon them, and like what was the result?
Right. So I'm gonna start it off by saying that the one weakness I absolutely loathe about myself is that I cannot open small packages. You know, like the small ketchup and like mayo and whatever mustard packages, those small things, I cannot open them. The way I solve that is I always have a pair of small scissors on me. It helps with sandwiches, I swear to God. But um, but on a serious note, um, I I used to struggle with like getting overwhelmed by project descriptions. So like when there's too when there's too much going on and there's too many things I have to do for a project and it's just all in that one file and I have to read all of it, it just overwhelms me and I don't want to start it off. And I've started making like a little table for myself to like track my progress and see, let's break it all down into smaller pieces and do one by one and see which one's easiest. And I'll start with that one and just get things going because I need to get things rolling. But yeah, those two are my absolute biggest weaknesses. First one, especially, struggle with that one.
And the second one's really reminiscent of like starting off the AVL tree project. There's a lot of instructions are given. Okay, so my last question for you would be, tell me about a time where you learned like a new technology or like a programming language. What did you use it for? And then like, how did you approach learning it?
So once again, I'm taking that software engineering class, and the professor showed up first class and just told us, you'll be working on a web app. You need to learn Go and you need to learn Angular and TypeScript and like entire front end stuff. And I've never worked in any of those languages. Like I'm familiar with Go just a little bit because I looked it up at some point. I was curious about it. But I didn't know much about it. I maybe knew some syntax. And obviously, like I need to make a whole app right now and I need to work on that back end because that's what I picked for myself. So I had to learn Go. And what I did is I just looked up first a bunch of like crash courses on the internet. Just give me a basic overview of the syntax. So even if I need to look up something, how to build something, I at least understand what's going on and I know how to write it. And that took maybe like 2 hours to just be comfortable enough with everything that Go has. And like I know it has pointers, but the syntax is a little off and they swap the data types with the name of the variable when they define it and goes on for everything, including functions and return types. So it was just that was the first step I took. And then I just went back, talked to my team and figured out what we want to build. And I looked up, we were like, okay, first step is we want to build our registration and login page. And I went and looked up how to build the registration and login page in Golang and looked at a bunch of tutorials, read through the code that people have for them, and then just went, opened my IDE and started writing using those references. And honestly, now I feel comfortable with Go. It's been a few weeks, and I feel about as comfortable as I would with Java, which is not much considering that I don't like Java, but hey, it's okay.
All right, well, that's about it for all my behavioral interview questions. Should we move on to like the technical round, like the technical interview question I have?
Yeah, sure. Let me just talk to my chat for a little bit. Guys, it's not a red flag, it's tiny scissors. They're like the size of a nail clipper. I swear to God, I'm not dangerous. Okay. Do you want me to share my screen? Oh, the interview is not going to be graded based on the correctness of the answer. It's going to be graded on the process, like the entire process of interviewing someone and being interviewed and how you walk through that and stuff. Should I share my screen with you while I program?
Yeah. So um should we okay, we should probably create like a Google Doc and I'll share it to you
Mhm,
to like get started.
mhm. And let me open that LeetCode question.
Sarah, what's your UFL email?
I'll send it to you in the chat.
Okay.
Gotta double check if I know how to spell my name. Do you guys have any questions for me right now while we're trying to set all of this up? Other than the trying to judge me for carrying scissors and not being able to open mustard.
Okay, I think I shared the thing with you.
The Google Docs.
So you can make your own questions by like going on LeetCode and just stealing the question itself, or going on like Geeks for Geeks and just looking up like interview questions. They don't need to be like really challenging. These are most likely going to be like your first interview questions ever, and they'll be pretty challenging on their own. So if you're on like LeetCode, I definitely go for like an easy like list stacks and queues or like a tree question. Don't go for like a medium or hard. Those might take more than like 45 minutes to complete. Those are pretty challenging at times.
Yeah, look up the questions that are gonna be in the slide. So when I there's a slide with the list of questions with the links to list of questions. Look those up. See which ones you would be able to solve and how long it would take you to solve that and pick one of those. It's completely fine. You don't have to make up anything new. I am not seeing that email. Am I?
Interesting.
I swear to God, if it marked you as junk, no, it did. Can you like send it on Slack or something? It might be faster. Uh, for the quiz, do they ask the behavioral questions too, am I? Or are they doing just the technical part?
You can do both if you want to. You're required to give at least a technical question. Like both you and your partner are required to be asking at least one technical question. But if you want to, you can ask like behavioral questions too.
To warm up.
Yeah, basically take the warm up or just like practice for the future.
Hmm. Okay, I have the docs open now. Do you want me to share the docs? To share the screen with the docs or the linked list, the lead code?
Uh, I'll copy and paste like the question in there.
Okay.
And then I guess you could share your screen so that they could see like how you're writing the code.
Yep. Yeah. Now you see the docs. So the
Okay,
question
so oh, should I be doing it or?
you can read it. It's fine.
Okay, okay. So Sarah, simply given like the head of like a singly linked list, I'm gonna ask you to just like reverse the linked list and then like return that reverse linked list. So for example, like the first example, we see that like there's linked list of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we will just simply return 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. example two, we see like it with like a two nodes in a singly linked list. So we just see 1, 2, and then 2, 1. And then example three shows like a empty linked list. And then if there's an empty linked list, we're just going to return that empty linked list.
Right, right, right. Right. So if essentially just looking at this one, the um if the head is null, I return null, essentially.
Correct.
Uh, 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 um, let's see. Do I have a restriction on what data structures I have to use?
Um, you should just be using like the original linked list. You can also use like a vector if you would like to, or you could use like a stack or queue. You don't have any restriction on any like data structures you want to use,
So I
but
could use like a stack, what you're saying.
yeah, you could use like a stack or like a queue per se, or like a vector. This is up to you to decide how to implement.
Hmm. And would using a stack count as 2 iterations? If I
Um,
go through the list and add each node to the stack, and then as I pop them off, I link them,
it
would that
would
be
count
two
as two
iterations?
iterations
Okay.
because you would be basically putting all the elements into the stack, and then you'd be popping every single element
Yeah.
off the stack, which would require two iterations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And okay, is it fine if I like create essentially a new list?
Yeah, you can make your own new list too. If you need to, it's perfectly fine to create your own new linked list.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So can I draw out the algorithm that I'm coming up with right now? So
Yeah, of course.
we can draw this. Maybe I can draw with the zoom. Annotate. So I'm just gonna work with this one for now. Uh, I'll be given a head, right? And I need to return this one. I am honestly just gonna go with like a depth first. So I'm gonna iterate through it all and then reverse it
Mhm.
on the way back. And I am way
Okay.
better with recursion, so I'm just gonna go with that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna write down
That
a
sounds good.
few base cases just to this is ugly. I'm gonna write down a few base cases in the docs. So if head is null PTR, then we're gonna return null PTR. If I'm given a single node, then I have to return that one. So if head next null. Oh my god, I need to remember the C++ syntax. Okay. Then I'm gonna go back to annotation. So if this is my head on the first iteration of it, or the first, whatever, first access, I'll be here and I want to place or return this one. So I'm gonna have to move all the way through. Then when I'm here, because I have that base case already where I return head, that's probably going to be the trigger to start going back.
Mhm. Right.
So I'm
So
going to
like you
start,
unwind like the recursive stack then.
yeah,
And you,
yeah. So when
okay.
I'm in that returning process, I'll be deleting these and replacing them with this.
Right.
So if I'm returning, I'll be here. I need to set head next to null. I hate this. To null, but head next needs to be head. So I'm gonna have to do this before. Yeah. So this part is gonna be this, and then this part is gonna be deleting this one. And then if I return head, it should just keep going backwards. I hope. Can I just go and write the code now?
Yeah, I feel like the annotations you provided give like a good idea of like what you're trying to go at. Yeah, I would like to see some sort of like code possibly for like your ideology that you presented.
Mhm. So I'll just use these two. Uh, 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 I don't need to write down the struct this declaration and everything of the linked list, right?
Correct. You don't need a struct. Just assume that every linked list node has an X pointer and that every link that the nodes also contain some sort of like integer.
Okay. Um, suppose that my function is called, I'm just gonna call them nodes, and the function returns a node. Gonna be called reverse list, and it's gonna take a node pointer to head. Uh, okay, so these two I can actually merge into one. So if head equals all PR and head next R. I think I think C++ has the thing where I can do this automatically for pointers.
Correct. Yeah, C++ has that sort of feature to like reduce the lines by
Yeah.
like doing that.
So I'm just gonna simplify it a little for myself. Anyway, and this is gonna return head, head. Don't mind the capitals because of the docs. There we go. So it's gonna be this. It's gonna do both of these because this is essentially head 2 if head is null. And then I want it to go all the way to the end, to the last node. So I'm actually gonna write out the swapping part first. So I said head next, next is gonna have to be replaced with head. So I make that connection back. And then head next is deleted. And then I would return head. Mm, But
Where would you like place the recursive call to
I would
like
do it
recall the
here
method?
before all of this because I need to go loop through to the end of it first before I start unwinding and swapping them. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to introduce a new list. So let's say that I do node new head equals reverse list head next. So this is gonna find the end of the list. This is the terminating condition for the recursion. And once it hits that last element, it's going to return the last element. And that's going to be stored in the new head.
Makes sense.
And then this is going to I'm trying to work in this new head into this part here to make sure that it's actually connecting these two. But yeah, so this one is actually just like looping back. And this one's terminating the first condition. So now like these two together swap the direction of connection. And this should return new head. Because that's what I want the function to do. So I am going to now run this on paper with, that's not what I want. I want this. And does, I am so not versed with Google Docs. I'm way better with Word. Is there a way to show both of these side by side?
I believe not. I'm not 100% sure myself.
That's so sad. Anyway, I wanted to walk through the code and like see if it's correct.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to annotation then. I'm just gonna draw out the list. And it had 5 elements. So I will enter the function here. It's gonna be my head. Head is not null and the next is not null. So it's gonna move here and it's gonna call the function on this one. So head is now here. It's not null. The next one's not null, so it's gonna move there, and then the same thing here. And then here, the next one is null, so it's gonna return this one. So this is my new head now. And then I have this line happening on these two. So I have head, this is my head. I'm done with this part. Head, next is head. Head next is null. And then I return new head. So it's still this one. And then I go back to this line here but I'm done with this part. So this is head. So head next is head. So it does this. Head next deletes it and then returns this again. And then I'm done with this part. And then I'm here. Head next. Okay, so it does this. Done with this one and does this again. So now if I can follow my code correct, this should be right.
Yeah, that looks about right for the program itself. Thank you for like drawing out the annotation to like allow me to see like where you came from in like different angles because I believe like an easier approach for like most people would be like doing it iteratively and like moving up in the linked list using maybe 2 or 3 pointers, taking like a previous, a current, and then like a next pointer, and then pointing them backwards. But a recursive approach is a bit easier too. So nice solution.
Yeah, I'm not very good at solving problems like this iteratively, I'll be honest.
This is a different like standpoint. I know a lot of like people would do this, iteratively because that's what they're more comfortable with, but seeing it recursively is a great way of doing it too.
Let's see. Give me a second. I want to test it in LeetCode. Jeez. I want to find the link again. Okay. I have to do a let's see. Now you can see the LeetCode, right?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do. I don't need all of it. I need. I'm gonna have to correct the. It might be easier to type it out. I'll be honest with you. If head, not head, and not head next, return head. Is that what I did? And then I made a new. They call it list node. Node. New head. I swear to God, I'm better at naming variables. I'm just trying to rush it. And then I do head next, next, head, head, next is null PTR. And then I return new head. Is that it? Yes. Let's see. Ah, what?
Should be like when if head and
Or
head dot next.
let's see. This is the issue. It's or. I was using and. And in this case, it would throw the error because it was trying to access this, even though it should have terminated with this. Anyway, I guess this works. Should I submit it?
Go for it. Let's see what happens.
Oh,
That's pretty good.
I guess, yeah. I does this oh, it's like this is for the time, and this is for the space that it takes up.
Right. Yeah. Normally, like these statistics are just kind of arbitrary because like
Yeah.
it just depends on like the compiler itself.
Mm-hmm.
So like in general for like students doing leak code, you shouldn't like worry too much about like the percentage. You should be worrying more about like the time and space complexity, like being able to analyze whether it's like an O of n time complexity or like an O of n like space complexity function you've just created is a lot more important than analyzing how much you beat on leak code.
Yeah, sorry, I'm reading through the comments, right? Or the messages right now to see like what's going on. Mm, yeah, in your video you can use an IDE. It's fine. I just like I already had the docs pulled up, and